Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Force Feed for this Wednesday, February 1st. Today we'll be discussing the Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning launch trailer, Gotham City Impostors release date, Kinect For Windows, Rift Lite, a Skyrim user creation kit, and no online pass for Syndicate. The Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning launch trailer was released today. In the trailer, we get to take a look at some of the game's gameplay, locations, and a sneak peek of some of the story. Reckoning does come out next Tuesday, February 7th. I am looking forward to the game. I may very well be doing a Let's Play of it. At the very least, I should be providing a little bit of video coverage, giving you guys a good idea as to what to expect for the game. It's not really anything groundbreaking, but either way, it's an RPG and it looks pretty fun. Warner Bros. Gotham City Impostors has gotten a release date. The game is going to be coming out next Tuesday, February 7th on Xbox Live, PSN, and the PC for $15. If you're looking for a new FPS with a fun twist at a low price, this may just be the game for you. I've heard plenty of good things of the title. I didn't get a chance to take a look at the demo, but it's something that I'm certainly interested in. Kinect For Windows came out today. It is available for $249 and is going to feature advanced speech and audio capabilities as well as improved skeletal tracking. It is also going to have a near mode which will recognize objects as close as 40 centimeters in front of the sensor. Microsoft is pushing this bundle towards industries outside of video games. They're going to be aiming beyond the living room into industries such as education, manufacturing, healthcare, and retail. And it's probably a good thing. I could see a variety of uses coming from the Kinect in those industries. I am interested to think where you think it could be useful. At what various industries or various situations do you guys think that the Kinect for PC could actually be useful? I don't think it's something that I will be using in the home. I can't imagine, again, I've talked about this before, sitting in front of the PC and waving my arms back and forth. I can't really fathom that happening. There are all sorts of possibilities though, especially using hand tracking to be able to navigate various menus. It is pretty interesting. Let me know what you guys think about it below. Tryon has introduced a new trial mode for their MMO Rift, known as Rift Lite. This is going to give you access to the first 20 levels at no charge and without any time constraints. Rift's executive producer Scott Hartzman said in the past 10 months, Rift has evolved at a breakneck pace. Through 7 massive updates that set new expectations for live MMOs in features, in content, and in service. We think a light edition with no time limit is the best way for players to see what an amazing experience Rift continues to be. The game has seen some major content patches as of late, including improvements to PvP, better endgame gear, and new quest lines and dungeons. So if you thought about Rift and you've been on the fence before, you can go in with no barrier to entry. It is going to be free of cost. You get to test out the first 20 levels. Now's a good time to take a look at the game. Coming soon to the PC via Steam, the Skyrim user creation kit is going to grant community members access to the same tools used by developers of the game. The creation kit introduces a scene editor, dialogue trees, a dynamic real-time shadows, and visual gizmos. There's also going to be integration with the Steam Workshop, which will allow you to share and find mods easily on Steam. Anyone who is involved in the mod community is certainly going to be excited about the upcoming Skyrim user creation kit, and its integration with the Steam Workshop is also exciting because it's going to allow for quick and easy access to various mods and game modes produced by content producers. I also wanted to note that Skyrim patch 1.4 is now available today on PC. It's going to include various quest and bug fixes, so if Skyrim has been crashing recently or if you've been having any issues, I would take another look at the game because it may be resolved. It looks like EA's upcoming shooter Syndicate is not going to include an online pass. This is worth noting because EA has a policy that requires all of its games to include online passes. The reason Syndicate won't include one is simply to create little resistance or barriers to entry as possible. Speaking with Eurogamer, EA Partners executive producer Jeff Gammon said, "The co-op is equal billing in this. We wanted everyone who owns a copy of the game to have access to the entire product. Under normal circumstances, it would have had an online pass, but because it didn't have competitive multiplayer and because we wanted as many people as possible to be playing the co-op, we got away with it." It's a pretty interesting scenario given the type of game Syndicate is and the fact that EA decided to let it go through without an online pass. We've been talking about online passes a lot lately, especially recently looking at the Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning online pass. So the fact that Syndicate is going to get away without one simply because of its game type, again, it's pretty interesting. How do you guys feel about this? The fact that a game like Reckoning is going to have an online pass and you're not going to have full access to all the quests, but a co-op gameplay FPS like Syndicate won't have any online pass. Now on to today's community question. If you have a question that you would like answered here on the Force Feed, send it to theforcefeed@forcestrategygaming.com. Today's question comes from Caleb, and he asked, do you think it's right to include content, not a multiplayer pass like Battlefield 3, with the purchase of a new game, when someone who buys it may not have internet? Do you think a law should be passed that either GameStop or companies that design games should post somewhere notable on the box that a brand new version contains downloadable extras? Alright, I'm going to try to decipher that as best as possible. I think what Caleb is trying to ask here is simply about day one DLC, not necessarily something that costs money, but the fact that you have to download content that's locked with the purchase of a new game through an online pass. Well, what if you don't have internet? And this is an interesting question, and it's certainly a valid point. There are people out there who don't have internet, but I think in today's day and age, a majority of people, at least the market that these game companies are aiming towards, will have some access to internet, especially if you have a PC. I know very few people who own a personal computer but don't have access to internet at the same time. Now, I realize this isn't always the case. There are certainly people in areas of the world that don't have internet. In fact, I recently moved somewhere that has very limited internet. I used to live on the east coast of New Hampshire, right in the Portsmouth area, and there I had great FiOS fiber optic internet. I was running amazing upload and download speed. Well, I recently moved to central Maine, and they actually have a really limited internet. I was able to get fiber optic, but only by paying for a business line, which is actually costing me like $200 a month. So the reason I'm explaining this, though, is because it's all about the infrastructure. I used to live in an area that had great internet all the time, and then I moved to an area that had very limited internet, and I have to kind of pay out the rear to get a decent internet speed to allow me to actually produce my business. Over time, this infrastructure is going to grow, and places like where I currently live will easily have access to a very solid internet connection. And wherever you happen to live, Caleb, I'm sure eventually good internet connection will come. Now, maybe it's the case that you just can't afford it, or you're not paying for it, or maybe it is an infrastructure situation. If it's a financial issue, then I'm kind of sorry. Unfortunately, these gaming companies are going to include online passes because people in your situation are kind of a minority. And although it is a loss for them, if you don't buy their game for this reason, it's a small loss. And that's my assumption as to what they're thinking. Now, if it's an infrastructure issue, the idea is that over time, the infrastructure of the internet will get better. It will be spread out into more areas of the world, and eventually everyone, hopefully, should have access to the internet. And that is going to do it, my friends, for today's episode of the Force Feed. As always, stay tuned tomorrow for another episode where I'll be keeping you up to date on all the most recent gaming news and announcements. Once again, this has been Force, and you've just been force-fed. And stop talking about my hair and my beard. The only people who should be talking about that are my girlfriend and mother. What's wrong with you?